Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. Today, I am going to take a first look and page through HârnWorld, Kingdom of Azadmere from Columbia Games. This is actually the focus of a Kickstarter that is currently running in order to publish hardcover editions of Kingdom of Azadmere. And that's actually what we're going to be taking a peek at today. So that Kickstarter has a few days to run still. It runs through September 27th, and you can reserve a copy of the hardcover with PDF for a $49 pledge up through that time. The turnaround on this is actually going to be pretty quick, with an expected delivery in December of this year. Should point out, there is a PDF. It is available already. It is over at DriveThruRPG. The page count is wrong on that page. It says it's 32 pages. It's far more than 32 pages. But if you want to just get the PDF, you want to grab it right now, you can do so. It is $29.99 over at, once again, DriveThruRPG. All that said, let's swing on over to the other camera, because here I've got Kingdom of Azadmere for HârnWorld. A few things I do want to mention before I dive on in. First of all, the fine folks over at Columbia Games were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. These days, it's important that you know that. We're also not going to look at each and every page of Kingdom of Azadmere, but I do want to give you a really good feel for what's in this book, as well as show you how these kingdom supplements are laid out, because it is quite different than just a standard fantasy role-playing game supplement. So keep that in mind. Now, I also want to mention I am no expert on the world of Harn, so I am certainly going to be mispronouncing things throughout this video. I apologize right up front. I do have a working knowledge of the setting, but once again, I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of the world of Harn, because there is loads and loads of detail to this game world. I should mention before we jump on last night's live episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch, I took a peek inside the 40th anniversary edition of HârnWorld, this hardcover here, and actually had Grant Dalglish from Columbia Games hanging out in chat, answering questions. So if you're kind of curious about the world of Harn, give that video a peek. So let's take a look at the back here. I'm not going to read everything, but read a little bit of this. Azadmere is the only remaining kingdom of Khaz'dul, dwarves, on Harn. Located high in the Sorkin Mountains of eastern Harn, the kingdom is centered on the city of Azadmere and Lake Arain. Founded more than 7,000 years ago, it is now ruled by King Hasmedul III of Clan Tarizak. The capital city of Azadmere is an impressive walled settlement with a moat, stout double walls, and prominent towers. The outer city lies between Lake Arain and a massive cliff. The workshops of most of the city's craftsmen are located here, as are the homes of its human residents. The inner city is carved into the rock of the mountain. Its extensive chambers and passages are home to Khaz'dul. Very few humans are permitted access here. Tunnels lead to mines of iron, silver, gold, and gems, and to the godstone that sits at the heart of the mountain. All right, we'll jump on in. So it appears we have got quite a few contributors to Kingdom of Azadmere. Make sure we give them some credit here. And let's dive on in. I think this is going to be a full-color book. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be. So the way these kingdom books are laid out is that we'll have various different areas, various different regions, which make up the sections of the book. Now, they have been published separately in the past. So that's why you're going to see we have no overarching page number down along the bottom or the top of the book, but we do have the page numbers by section. So it looks like we are going to get into the region. It looks as if that's what we are going to start off with. And one of the big selling points of the world of Harn is the amount of detail that has gone into this over the years. Now, there are a ton of adventures and kingdom books and supplements that are out there already. And this is pretty system agnostic. I know it's designed for a Harn Master. Harn Master is the kind of a house organ fantasy role-playing game for Columbia Games, but you don't have huge chunks of stat blocks and things like that in these region books, or even in HârnWorld and Harn Decks at all either. So you can utilize this with any fantasy role-playing game that you would like. It's important to keep in mind that Harn is a low magic fantasy world, which draws a lot of inspiration from 12th century medieval Europe. And you'll find that there is a very gritty and real feel to the world of Harn. And I like that quite a lot. And something else I really dig about HârnWorld and its releases is the fact that you can pick and choose what you want to use for your own homebrew game. There's nothing here that makes you have to utilize everything in these books. It is very modular, so you can take what you like and introduce it into your own game setting. So here it looks like we've got information about diet, we've got craftsmanship, sure we've got government, the arts, culture. There we go, government, law. We'll have information about the movers and shakers in each of these regions. Information about the God Stone, which is obviously what the dwarves worship. So military resources. Now we're going to get into Azadmere city. So that was the region. Now we're going to get into the city here. Oh, there we go. So there was a little bit of information, and now we're going to take a far deeper dive. And one of the interesting aspects of the villages and cities with HârnWorld is that we normally will start off with kind of a high level view, and then we'll actually zoom in all the way down to street level in some areas. So this is going to discuss the city itself. So this is more the higher level that I was just talking about. So we're going to have keyed maps. So we've got the districts, we've got the defenses of the city. These are important NPCs for the city. So it looks like this is the outer city, because then we have the cliffside. Yep, there we go. And then we have the inner city, which, as we saw in the information on the back of the book, very few humans are allowed into the inner city. Another aspect that I like with the Harn releases is the information is presented in digestible chunks. So talking about various different areas, this looks like, is this a keep or fortress? Looks like it very well could be. You're not going to get 7 paragraphs describing, well, 100 years ago, this room was used for, you know what I'm talking about, which for the most part is just inflating the word count in an adventure. Game masters really don't need that information. So if it's not something that you can utilize in that adventure, at the game table, you don't need to know about it. So that is something that I really like about the Harn releases, is that it's not bullet points. There's more description than that involved. But as an example, here we've got notable personalities from Azadmere City. I believe these are probably from the inner city. And we get a paragraph, couple of paragraphs, just to bring them to life. Oh, here. Is this a great hall or something? Or maybe this is some of the craftsmen. But you can see pretty good detail on these maps. At some point, we're actually probably going to see some street level areas in this. Okay, so then we've got Habe. I'll say Habe. Habe is the principal human settlement of the Kingdom of Azadmere and the seat of the Baron of Habe, whose lands provide much of Azadmere's food. The keep is one of Harn's oldest human fortifications and sits astride the paved road from Zurhan, guarding the ancient Gazhar Bridge. Few foreigners are permitted to travel beyond Habe to Azadmere City. So we get a history, discussion of current situation, government, military forces, economics, religion, taxes and tolls. So this is a village. This isn't a city. Certainly doesn't look like it's a city. So we have the keyed locations. And looks like we are going to have the keep, or maybe it's a gatehouse. Then we get Zurhan. Zurhan is a stronghold of the Kingdom of Azadmere and the seat of Crown Prince Khazar Tarazak. Zurhan is one of Harn's most impressive engineering achievements and has long guarded the southern approaches to the kingdom. The Jaren village of Pedwar lies just north of the fortress. So, of course, we're going to get information about the fortress. Should see a map. So there is a map of it there. Now we start dialing in. So as you can see, now we've zoomed in on this for the fortress. And then we have the port of Pedwar. Then we have Sorkins. So this should be the mountain area. Since the time of the Battle of Sorrows, the hostile climate and terrain of these Sorkin Mountains have resisted human settlement. The region remains one of the wildest on Harn. So even though this is low magic, there are monsters, there are plenty of creatures. You still have dragons, still have goblins. It's just a far grittier and more realistic sort of setting. I say it all the time that HârnWorld is a living, breathing entity. It really is. Now, there are some folks out there who are probably looking at this thinking, there is just way more detail than I could ever possibly use. And for a lot of folks, it is. But it's nice to have this available to you. And once again, you can use what you like, you can leave behind what you don't. We have the ruins of Traketh. So this is the Silver Way. Let's see, what is the Silver Way? Is it kind of like the Silk Road? Could be. Since before the first men came to Harn, the Silver Way has been the only road into Azadmere, the ancient and wealthy kingdom of the Khuzdul. It is one of 4 major trade routes that converge on to Shal, and one of the most important trade routes on Harn. It is also one of the most dangerous. So it is a trade road. So we're going to get information about this. Looks like we might have some adventure locations as well, because there we go. The ruins. Looks like the ruins of Traketh are haunted by a shade. So we get some adventure hooks. So there we go. So location key there. And then Guthy Bridge. There's a lot going on in this supplement. I'll tell you that right now. And this is just an example of one of the, I think this makes 6. I could be wrong on that number, but I think this is the 6th of the hardcover Kingdom books for the world of Harn. Really nice. This is really impressive. So I should also mention that if you want to dip your toes into the world of Harn, say you're kind of curious about it, there is a $1 pledge. This is something you'll see Columbia Games does with their HârnWorld Kickstarters. There's a $1 pledge. You'll get a PDF that is loaded with content. And when I say it's loaded, I don't mean it's a 20-page PDF. I'm talking a lot of content that's going to share with you some of this stuff from the Harn Dex, which is the kind of encyclopedia of Harn. In fact, for $1, you might actually get the Harn Dex. I don't recall exactly what's on the agenda for the $1 pledge, and you get that immediately, or as near immediate as possible, so that you can kind of take it out for a test drive and look through it and see what you think. But as you can see, this region is pretty impressive. I think this is the only dwarven region in Harn. I think it's kind of like their last bastion that they possess. All right, so that is Kingdom of Azadmere from Columbia Games for HârnWorld. Once again, this Kickstarter is running through September 27th. You can reserve a copy of this hardcover with PDF for a $49 pledge, and expected delivery is this December. Sweet, very nice. I will have a review of this as well as the 40th anniversary edition of HârnWorld in the very near future, so stay tuned. All right, that is it for this time out. If you liked the video, by all means, give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already, and if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell, because it'll not only let you know when I upload videos such as this first look, it'll also inform you when my live show, The Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for our latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you won't find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thank you very much for watching. And until I see you next time, here's hoping all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.